Boris Johnson wants to convene an emergency meeting of G7 leaders to discuss the worsening situation in Afghanistan. The Prime Minister has urged German Chancellor Angela Merkel to join his effort to bring international bigwigs in a diplomatic alliance to deal with the crisis. It comes after Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab admitted the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan took the government by surprise. In the hope of recruiting Germany to his international effort, Mr. Johnson told Mrs. Merkel they must use their bilateral and multilateral influence to encourage international partners to adopt a joined-up approach to the challenges ahead, his official spokesman added. The Prime Minister also stressed the need to agree shared international standards on human rights that any future Taliban government in Afghanistan will be held to by the international community. The Prime Minister outlined his intention to convene G7 leaders for a virtual meeting to discuss this at the earliest opportunity. The government wants to build up an international response after it conceded to being caught out by the Taliban's rapid takeover of Afghanistan. Key members of Mr. Johnson's top team have now returned from their holidays to tackle the issue. Mr. Raab has announced that the government is considering increasing aid to the country by 10%. He also said 150 Britons were flown out on Sunday, as well as 289 Afghan staff in the past week. The Foreign Secretary vowed to get out British nationals at pace as well as those Afghans who have served us. Mr. Johnson has already sent over 200 paratroopers to Afghanistan to help protect the international airport in Kabul, which has witnessed chaotic scenes as people desperately try to escape the clutches of the Taliban. Mr. Raab said the UK would now hold the Taliban to the commitments made in the Doha Agreement, signed last year by the US and the terrorist group. Pledges included not using the country for terrorism purposes and building a more inclusive regime. Frankly, I can't tell you that I trust them to follow through on them, Mr. Raab added. I expect that we will increase our aid budget for development and humanitarian purposes, probably by 10% is what I have in mind on last year. We want to try and make sure it won't go through the Taliban, but make sure that we can alleviate the humanitarian suffering. Mr. Johnson has also held talks with French President Emmanuel Macron about the need for an online meeting of G7 leaders. The Prime Minister said he wanted the international community to take a unified approach in recognizing any future government in Afghanistan and preventing a humanitarian crisis. EU governments are concerned that failing to tackle the situation could lead to a fresh migrant crisis as desperate Afghans attempt to flee from the Taliban.